Good evening, and welcome to the regular meeting of the Council of the City of Long Beach, held Tuesday, December 5th, 2023 at 7 p.m. We'll have a roll call. Councilmember Apostoli.
Here.
Councilmember Lester.
Here.
Councilmember McGinnis.
Present.
Vice President Treston.
Here.
President Bendo.
Present.
Let the record indicate the presence of Acting City Manager Ron Walsh and Corporation Counsel Dennis Cohen. We'll now have a salute to the flag.
How about I'll ask our clerk to lead us?
Hand over heart. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, good evening, everyone. Hope everyone had a great Thanksgiving and was over their turkey comas and their leftovers. We'll get going with the city manager report.
So tonight's city manager report is going to be a presentation by the Resilient Connectivity for Park Avenue, the Phase 2. You've noticed already that we've done signage on Park Avenue. We've put up some variable message signs. We've also put up some permanent radar traffic signs and information signs. So this particular part of the project is the second phase of money that we received as grant funding. And I want to note that after the conclusion of this presentation by Joe and the consultants, Joe and the team are going to go into the OEM so that if anybody here has additional questions or if your particular business or area is going to be affected, that he can give you more personalized information as to what the outcomes may be. So, Joe?
Thank you, everyone.
By the way, Joe, one thing. The OEM is the room just outside of the council chambers here to the right. There's a little conference room there. That's where they'll be.
Okay, good evening, everyone. My name is Joe Fabrizio. I'm the Commissioner of Public Works for Long Beach. I'm joined here by Suzanne Boyle. She's the Principal Landscape Architect for NV5, and Nick Ernesto, who also works for NV5. Suzanne's going to be giving us a presentation on the Resilient Connectivity for Park Avenue Phase 2 project. I don't want to steal your thunder, but I'm just going to mention a few things about this project and what it's going to entail. We're going to be replacing all the curbs, sidewalks, and sidewalk ramps on Park Avenue between Long Beach Road and Riverside. We're going to be installing new concrete gutters to facilitate drainage. We're going to be replacing all the underground electric on the road, and we're going to be putting in colonial lights similar to what's on National Boulevard, and that'll be on both the north and south side of the street. We're going to be putting in removing trees and replanting the north and south side, and we're also going to be putting in bike racks, and we're going to be putting in benches. I don't know if you notice on that road, like on the north side now, there's no trees, so we're going to change that. We're going to have trees on the north side. The intent on this project is to start work on March 24, and it's a 4-month project, so our intent, it's a very aggressive schedule, and our intent is to finish it by June of 24. Again, it's very aggressive. Our intent is to do it in the spring months so we don't impact the summer. That's the main goal of the project. This project, it's also funded by the New York State Department of State. It was a $1,550,000 grant from the New York State Department of State, of which the city was responsible for 50%. I wanted to thank Patty Bourne, our Director of Economic Development, and also Tyler Huffman, our Director of Community Development. And if it wasn't for them pushing this along, I don't think we'd ever be where we are. So, thank you. I just wanted to give you kudos. There was supposed to be a rep from the Department of State here. I just wanted to mention Kimberly Connor. Oh, hi, Kimberly. How are you? Thank you for the funding. We appreciate that. Thank you very much. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Suzanne from NV5. And NV5 has done a fantastic job on this project so far.
Thank you very much, Joe. You stole all my thunder, so I'm going to try and make this brief. So the project area is on East Park Avenue between Long Beach Boulevard and Riverside Boulevard. Next slide, please. We are coordinating this with another project done by Nassau County Traffic. They're replacing the pedestrian signals, push buttons, and signals. However, our project will be done before they are even starting that project. Next slide, please. So we started with an inventory of the existing conditions. We NV5 did a slope analysis because a big part of the project is to make the sidewalk compliant with current code. So we did a slope analysis of the entire sidewalk area to determine which needed improvement, which areas. The sidewalk is also cluttered with site furniture, mostly related to the businesses, and bicycle racks that are located at various locations, so there's no continuous layout of the sidewalk area. Next slide, please. Same applies for the materials of the sidewalk. The current sidewalks are concrete and various types of pavers and bricks. The concrete pattern varies from section to section, and there is no continuity in the material choice. Next slide, please. NV5 also inventoried the trees. Unfortunately, a lot of the trees along that stretch are very overaged and are in decline, and they will not survive the construction project. However, all of the new tree plantings, as shown in the picture on the upper right here, will be saved. The bicycle racks are located, some are located along the curb, some are located along the buildings, the facades, so there's no continuous layout of them, and also there's various different styles and colors. Same applies for the trash cans, which seemed they're very aged as well. Next slide, please. So just to summarize the constraints again, and then define the goals of this project. The sidewalk layout varies. As I explained already, 75% of the sidewalks and ramps do not conform to the current accessibility standards. The concrete pavements and pavers are weathered and patched and overaged. Overall, there's a lack of uniformity of materials. 50% of the existing trees require removals. And the lighting infrastructure is also old. The poles are weathered and outdated, and the electrical wiring is a direct burial, which is less than ideal. So out of those constraints, we defined the goals and opportunities for this project. So number one goal is to develop a design standard for a beautified and unified vision for Park Avenue that will then can also be continued from the next block and the next block. So this is the first block where we are doing this. Another goal was to improve the accessibility of the sidewalks. We want to make the 75% of non-compliant 100% compliant. The material selections should be unified throughout. The site furniture should be unified. And the number of trees should increase compared to the current status. And we would like to upgrade the infrastructure, the lighting infrastructure. Next slide, please. So just want to start with the sidewalk layout. So because this is the biggest impact that we can make to create that resilient connectivity, it's a mouth twister, for Park Avenue to tie the business district together. So the sidewalk is really divided in 3 different zones. There is the circulation and seating zone on the right, that's shown in purple here, and that serves kind of a little bit, can serve individualized for each business. That's where a restaurant can set up dining tables, or that's where the city can put a bench, or maybe like a panel can be set up for the business to advertise for the business. Then the clear walkway zone is in the center that needs to be free of obstructions and needs to be accessible, compliant to current code. And then on the left, along the curb, is the furnishing or amenity zone, as shown in green here. And that's really the zone where we can make the biggest impact because it's most visible from the road and from the sidewalk. And that's where we can create the real uniformity of this block. So the green furnishing zone is where the utilities are usually run. In our case, we have the lighting. And it's also where the tree pits are located and where we can put the bicycle racks, align them all in that zone versus alongside the buildings. And yeah, that's kind of it. And the lights. Next slide, please. So the choice of material that we selected for this furnishing zone is brick. We like to match the brick that's used in the center parking malls and at the railroad station and at various other locations in the city. So we call it the city brick. And I really like that picture on the lower left here because it shows that uniformity. And this is not City of Long Beach, but it shows that uniformity that can be created, that connectivity by repetitiveness of the same elements, the light poles, the tree pits, and the trash cans, and so forth. Next slide, please. We would like to increase, or we will increase the street trees. While we need to, unfortunately, recommend the removal of most of the trees, we will replace them and add 50% more. So we're also adding trees on the north side of Park Avenue. And the selected tree species are on the city tree master plan. We are recommending columnar-shaped trees for the south side. There's a columnar-shaped oak, honey locust, and salcova, which is used widely already in the city. And then for the north, we are proposing to use flowering trees like the Kwanzan cherry and serviceberry. Next slide, please. We're replacing the existing street lighting with the new decorative poles, the Nottingham pole that is implemented already on National Boulevard, and that decorative colonial light fixture, Knickerbocker. And we are also replacing the light fixtures only in the median parking mall to match that LED light output and create better uniformity for the entire block. Next slide, please. This just gives an overall rendering of all the elements that we talked about. Next slide, please. And this is a zoom-in version of that. Again, it shows the layout of the sidewalk and that paver strip and the trees and the lighting, and we're also replacing all the driveway aprons and updating all the curb ramps and replacing the curb with a curb and gutter. Next slide, please. This is a photo simulation just to help visualize this a little bit better. I think it really shows very nicely that, so like here you only visualize two zones. So you have the furnishing or amenity zone that was shown in green in that slide before. That's our brick strip here on the right. And then the clear walkway zone and the zone, the circulation zone that was shown in purple and white on the previous slide is all one, has the same material application of the concrete sidewalk. So depending on what each business does in that little strip, it can be wide open, or maybe there will be side furniture for dining, or in this case we are showing a bench, a city bench that also will create uniformity. Next slide, please. As Joe mentioned already, we are planning for a construction start date in early March. 4 months construction duration, and anticipate construction completion in end of June. So it will be done before the summer months. And funding is coming from New York State Department of State. And it's a 50-50 split between city and the state. And next slide, please. That's it. Thank you very much. We will be in the O&M room next door for any questions.
Nice. Thank you. I also wanted to just mention too real quick, after this project is complete in June, one of the biggest problems I hear in Public Works is why aren't you doing any paving work on Park Avenue? Well, we hear you. So in the fall, right after this project is done, we're going to skip the summer, and we're going to actually overlay all of Park Avenue from Riverside to Long Beach Road to complement this project. So that one block will be 100% complete. Thank you.
You're welcome. Oh, all right. Go ahead.
Joe, the council may have some questions.
Since we can't go out of the room,
No, Roy, you can go.
Yeah, we'd be happy to answer any questions, of course,
And
from the
we'll
council.
get done, Ron. Couple of questions. The trees, it says 50% require removal, but then it shows that only 13% of the trees, are in good condition.
I'm going to leave this to Suzanne because she put this together.
You really got me there. So we are removing, there are a total of, how many trees are on the south side? 7? We're removing 7 trees. We're
7
keeping
trees?
3, but we are adding 9 trees. So the math may be like a little bit wonky.
So,
But-
I mean, it says street trees existing.
Yes, that we are keeping, because they have been planted a few years ago. They will not be impacted by the construction because their root system has not penetrated underneath the sidewalk yet.
Okay, yeah, that's what I'm not able to understand. So when you have the little pie chart that says street trees existing,
Yes.
you're only talking about 9 trees?
Yes.
That's all we have existing right now?
On that block, yes.
Oh, okay. And it said that 50% have to be replaced. And what?
Replaced, and then we're replacing the ones that we are removing, and then we're adding more trees on the north.
So they're not, very confusing.
I'm
They're not
sorry.
in bad condition, they just have to be removed because of the resurfacing.
No, they have to be removed because they are already in decline. They are like
Okay. Now,
70% dead wood and a few branches left that are alive, and that the tree would not survive the construction. It's already in decline.
So these are all trees, though, that were replaced after Sandy?
Yes. They will be replaced slightly at a different location.
No, I'm not, I'm just curious what, we spent a lot of money on that after Sandy,
Yes, but those trees are from before Sandy. Those trees were not replaced. The ones that we are removing were not planted after Sandy.
Oh, they weren't?
No.
So they're the big old trees?
They are the big pear trees.
Okay. So after Sandy, we lost all our big trees.
Yes.
Now
so
we're losing more of the big trees.
Yeah, I mean, they're like 12 inches, some of them. They're not tremendous, but they were definitely around for Sandy and somehow survived.
Okay. And
So
then-
there's no double dipping here, like this. These are older trees.
No, I just, I always wondered about, we lost so many trees after Sandy, and I always was of the belief that they just came and they got paid per tree that they removed, so, it just didn't sit well. But the other thing, too, is on the connecting element streets, first of all, I love the idea of the bricks, so you don't have to break up concrete every time you want to replace a wire or a pipe. Love it.
Yes, great.
I don't know why we haven't thought of that years ago, but it's about time. But you have a furnishing zone, a clear walkway, and a circulation seating. And you said the circulation seating, I think your words were individualized for
It could
business?
be individual. I mean, it could be like right now you have already, like each business has, or some businesses have little tables and chairs set up. I don't know if this is going back before
So
COVID.
Joe, don't we have a code for that, how wide that can be?
I mean, the layout of the sidewalk is the same throughout.
No,
It's-
I'm talking about
oh.
how much space. When you say individualized, I seem to remember a code saying you can only take so much space on a sidewalk.
So I'm like going back, so the sidewalk overall, the width of the utility, the furnishing strip is 4 feet on the south side. On the north side, it's 5 feet. So, and then we need a 5-foot compliant sidewalk. So that makes it already like 9 feet. So the rest of that little sliver that was shown in that color-coded photograph depends on how much leftover room there is.
Okay,
So it's,
so the,
could be 2 feet, it could be 3 feet.
okay. So the furnishing zone and the clear walkway, as you say, are set amounts.
Yes.
Okay, that's what I wasn't clear about.
But that clear walkway zone is not a line that you will see. But it has to be, the clear walkway by code, it has to be for accessibility, it has to be 5 feet wide.
But let me ask you a question. Why couldn't a stripe be put down there so people know not to park their bikes there and stuff like that?
Well, the bikes, the intention is that the bike racks will all be in the furnishing zone so that the
Right, but
bikes cannot
You
be.
have a picture right here of a bike in the clear zone.
Right, it's just little, yes.
So, but you're saying there's nothing that can differentiate that?
It would be not feasible to, the colors of the furnishing zone, that's the brick paver, so that's 4 to 5 feet wide.
So the
Then the rest
furnishing,
of-
I'm sorry, the furnishing zone will be another color?
Yes, that will be the
Okay,
brick.
it will be green. So then it is differentiating?
Yes,
So
just
there
the-
is a line, so to speak?
Yes, between the furnishing zone and the clear walkway zone, that's differentiated by the color,
Yes.
by the material choice. The clear walkway zone and the remaining piece of sidewalk that's alongside the building facades, that does not have a differentiation. And it would be not feasible to put a line in there. We actually do not want a line there because we want to make it look wide and open and continuous.
But we will know, or the building department will know, if somebody puts their chairs out and their tables out into that clear walkway.
Yeah, I was going to jump in and say that, but that's a building department issue if they're encroaching beyond, a certain point.
But that doesn't happen now, right?
That's
Yes, it
that's outside my,
Yeah.
my area.
Okay, all
so
right,
to
thank
speak.
you, Joe.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Joe,
Are there any other questions?
Yeah, I guess I'll just ask one.
Sure.
And you're not going to be surprised by this question. The lamp posts we're putting in, are these the same ones we put up on the boardwalk and other?
They're not the same. The ones on the boardwalk are Sternberg lighting. The ones on, made by Sternberg lighting. The ones on National Boulevard are made by Magnaflood, and the ones on Penn Street are made by Century. And unfortunately, I know what you're going to ask, right? The finish on them is vulnerable to salt water, salt air. And the only thing we have done, like just for example, I think I mentioned this on Penn Street, we actually painted every single pole, and it was done at a pretty minimal expense. It was like $250 per pole, and they look pretty damn good. So my recommendation is, quite frankly, to just keep up with the maintenance.
So we just need a maintenance program.
Yeah, and we're bidding out the streetlight contract. It's expiring in November of next year. So we're going to incorporate a painting item in it.
Because the other issue, at least with the ones on the boardwalk, is the bulbs, the glass bulbs were filling with water.
Yeah, that's a whole separate issue, yeah. Accumulate, at least it would have some place to drain.
Right. There was a lot of water in those.
Yeah, no, some of them, yes, you're correct.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I just have, so for the furnishing zone, will the prototypes for the bike racks and the street planters, like, will we be seeing those prior to, like, how far in advance? Or?
So the streetlights were included in the presentation, and the
Right.
same as we're using on National
Yeah.
Boulevard. The tree pits will be all the same uniform size. The trash receptacles will be part of this project, so will be supplied by this project. And we also have benches incorporated in the bike racks, and they are all they're proposed to be black. And the bench was actually, I had a bench included in that
Okay.
presentation as well.
Thank you.
I have
Is there any other
separate
questions?
for you, not on this.
Okay, all right, thanks, Joe. So anybody from the public, if you have any question about this, they'll be in the room next door. You can get more details, ask more detailed questions.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
John, I have questions for the city manager.
Okay, well, are you done with your, let 'em-
Yeah, that's
Okay,
why.
go ahead.
Okay, I'm just catching up on some files, and I had questions for the city manager and the staff. I think last year I voted to approve a volunteer firefighter ladder truck for about $2 million. The main reason I agreed to vote yes for this is the commitment of the volunteers and the staff to seek grant funding for this purchase. What related grants have we applied for to date, and what is the status?
I'll have to get back to you on that information. I didn't know you were going to ask the question tonight, so.
Yeah, no problem. I only have one meeting, okay? And then my second question, I'm excited about the light parade this weekend. I noticed that it was a city-sponsored event when I looked at a draft report from events for 2022. So that year, I think it was virtually break-even. Do we expect it to be break-even this year for the city as well?
It will be relatively close. It's tough to say until the event is over and we get the actual expenses in, but we have a commitment from the Chamber of Commerce to pay a proportional share of what's going on, so.
Okay, so it was nominal, 3,000 in revenue, sponsorships, I guess, and 4,400 in expenses. So then I was thinking, about the events and, great sponsored events, and then I noticed that we have non-city sponsored events. So for example, in the draft report from 2022, the taxpayers of Long Beach paid approximately $45,000 in city resources for the Irish Day Parade and Festival. So that means each taxpayer bore the burden of that festival. Whereas, we have the light parade, which is, a break-even event. I was wondering, do we have such events, non-city sponsored events, where the taxpayers have to subsidize the entire cost of the event? Do we have an event like that in the middle of the city where everybody's paying about 50 grand for it? And also in the East Business District, right? Why is someone from the canals paying for Irish Day out of their taxes? Like, why is one business district getting this benefit versus the other business districts?
So if you're asking me for the philosophical reason why the city has done this for the last 30 years, I can't really comment on that. I can tell you that the Irish Day Parade this year was a co-sponsored event. When you co-sponsor it, the city absorbs its costs, and the AOH agrees to pay a certain dollar amount towards the expenses, which I believe this year was $15,000 contributed towards the event. That's just the way things have been done. As far as events around the city code requires, if you have an event and it's not a city-sponsored event, for you to pay the expenses of what the event is based upon what the code says.
Right, that's why I voted against the city staff having discretion on that, because I felt that the city council should make sure that they know that they're not favoring one area over another in terms of events.
There was nothing that said that there was a favoring. It was that if an event is asked to be done, I don't know, pick a place down in the East End, and it's not a city-sponsored event, and the city has to dedicate resources to that event, like they want the bandstand, and they want police coverage, and they want this and that and the other, or the city determines that there has to be police coverage, they will be billed the amount of what the city's services would be, so that the taxpayers didn't have to pay for the event.
So in 2022, the city taxpayer paid around $45,000 for Irish Day, and then $30,000 in 2023, right?
I don't know the numbers off the top of my head, but I could take your word for it. I don't know.
Can we get a report on that?
I believe, yeah, we can. Ina, we can get a report on the expenses. Sure.
Thank you.
Sure.
Okay. Let's move on to the agenda.
Okay. On to the agenda, and I just want to also point out the slides from the presentation earlier are on the agenda page on the webpage. And also, item 5 has been removed from the calendar. Okay, on to the first item on the agenda is a public hearing for an ordinance to amend the Code of Ordinances of the City of Long Beach regarding automatic alarm systems.
Okay, we'll open the public hearing. Well, yeah. First, I guess we'll get the story. Who's talking about this?
So the Code of Ordinances in this particular case was for the, well, actually, Dennis, it's really a legal discussion, so I'll let you do that one. Yeah.
Yeah, so what this is amending the Code of Ordinances to basically add fire alarms to the alarm code. So for those who install or have fire alarms will be required to get permits, and the The fine structure that right now applies to burglar alarms will also apply to fire alarms.
And the philosophical discussion here about this was that the fire department has a tremendous amount of false alarms out there in the city. So the encouragement here would be that if you have false alarms that are in your house or in your place of business regarding a fire alarm, a faulty alarm, or repetitive condition that should be corrected, the business owner would start to, the business or the homeowner would start to pay for the resources that are going to a false alarm. That's the basis for the actual burglar alarms. It should be noted too that Long Beach was the originator way back when of the burglar alarm fine and permit structure, and actually became the model for the state to use that, and it dramatically reduced the number of false alarms that were experienced draining resources in the city, and we're hoping that the same will come true here. We are not the trendsetters here. There are many municipalities across the state and the country that do this, and there are even companies that do all the administration of it as well. So we're basically modeling ourselves after somebody else, if you want to.
Okay, and the amendment also adds an appeals process for those permits to get revoked or for when fines are imposed for false alarms.
Any questions from the council? I don't even know why I'm asking. Go ahead.
Ron, has there ever been a study what it costs to run a single false alarm? I mean, how many, we get 2 trucks out? I guess.
So it becomes an opportunity cost more than just a regular expense as well. When you have your fire department running around chasing false alarms, or your police department running around chasing false burglar alarms, it takes resources away from their ability to do
It's still
other
a cost.
things. Yeah, I mean, I don't know of any dollar for dollar cost analysis that was ever really done. But if you took up the amount of time that it ran and just did a basic analysis on the average, the dollar cost average of the actual employee's salary and benefits package for what it actually costs to see for an hour, you know what I mean? Like, you know, you could probably come up with something that would approximate the cost, but you'll never get an exact number.
But we've never done that.
No, I don't know of any. I don't know of anybody who's actually ever done that.
Just, Scott, I'll ask you, how many on a fire alarm, a false alarm, how many vehicles do we run? Is that 2?
Depends on
And the chief?
Good evening.
John.
Everyone could be different depending what is going on. If it's 3 o'clock in the morning, you'll probably get 2 trucks on the road. If it's 6 o'clock at night and everybody's around, you might get more. What we typically do, if it's a chronic alarm, we don't have everybody racing there. You know, we don't want anybody getting hurt or killed for somebody vaping in the men's room of a restaurant. So, but I don't know if we can put a definitive cost on it. We could probably figure out a cost per truck based upon fuel usage and depending on the salary of the paid firefighters that are going. And, you know, and then you have the volunteers. But I don't necessarily know if you can actually put an exact cost on
Well,
it.
just what you were saying does put a cost on it.
Yeah.
You know,
But,
nothing's
I mean,
exact.
Well, also, when you're dealing with volunteer firemen, too, you only have the cost of the actual paid that go out, and you're not going to be able to figure out what the wear and tear is, and, you know, your volunteer force members that are going out, so you're not going to be able to put a dollar amount on that time. You know, I mean, you know.
No, but you can on the paid and you can on
You can on the
truck.
paid, yeah, you
You
can.
can on the gas and all the stuff like that. Just,
I think the goal here is, like the acting city manager said, is not necessarily to get fines, but maybe the residents or the homeowners or the business owners will do something a little extra if they know there might be a fine involved. So it will cut down our number of false alarms that we do go to. I know it has worked for the burglar alarms.
I know if you call the Coast Guard, you get charged for it, you know? And I just, you know, I don't think there's any relation here between the fine and the cost, and I'm just curious.
Yeah, I think just the way to go about it was we already had a mechanism in place in the code for the burglar alarms, and I think it was just adding fire alarm to that, which I think made it much easier to address. Like the acting city manager said, Nassau County has a fine in place.
Well, let me ask you, put it another way, and I'll do this with the red light cameras. Has us increasing the fine been, is there an effect? Is there any quantitative analysis of the increase of the fine?
Well, he doesn't have
and
a
the
fine.
decrease?
He doesn't have a fine yet. He doesn't have any of that. But if you're talking about burglar alarms,
No, just, so,
he doesn't have a fine yet. This is to pass it. He's
right.
never had the opportunity to even
and how about
analyze
burglar
that.
alarms?
So the burglar alarms, the amount of burglar alarms is dramatically reduced when there's been, because homeowners, so we have a company, it's called PMAM, and PMAM, actually, when we put into the system that a false burglar alarm went out, they automatically send out a bill for the false alarm to the homeowner. The homeowner then, if it's the first one, I think it's free, but the second one, third one, fourth one, like that, go on. I didn't memorize the fee chart. The increase in the cost here, when that was originally put in, it was in, gosh, I think it was in the 2000s, early 2000s. So the cost of police officers has gone up precipitously in that amount of time. So it is to cover the cost and the administration of the police officers going to a false alarm, as well as the administration of the actual
Right,
program.
the question was, does increasing the fine decrease? And you say dramatically.
No, having a fine
Yes.
is what dramatically decreased.
And-
Having that fine is what dramatically decreased it. The fines must be tied to some sort of relevant cost factor. You can't just arbitrarily decide what they're going to be.
Well, that's
So,
what I was asking.
yeah,
Is-
so then it's not an arbitrary just decision. And there's also a penalty involved in these things too. So there's a penalty for these things to happen to you. The dollar's not worth the same today as it was in 1989. It's
Okay.
worth a lot less.
All right, thanks.
You're welcome.
Just, I think it's a pretty simple question, Scott. Out of the 5,000-plus calls the fire department responds to each year, ballpark, what percentage would you say are false alarms?
So about almost 80% are EMS calls, so we'll take
Right.
them out of the equation. I'd probably say 1,000 calls a year are probably false fire alarms.
Okay.
So if we could have an impact on that, reduce the amount of actual calls for service, it could give us a better idea, number one, what we actually need in a volunteer and paid fire force also going forward, and also potentially bring in some cost coverage for false alarms.
Okay, any other questions from the council? All right, we'll open the public hearing. Any questions from
Thank
the
you, Scott.
public?
You have something?
I said,
Oh.
thank you, Scott.
Thanks, Scott.
Thank you.
All right, seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and move on to item 2.
Item 2 is an ordinance to amend the Code of Ordinances of the City of Long Beach regarding motor vehicles and traffic.
Well, let's have this one too, Dennis.
All right, this is establishing a pre-deprivation notice and hearing for boot and tows relating to scofflaws, and establishes a post-deprivation notice and hearing for all other boot and tows. It would establish a 72-hour notice on vehicles in which we tow, and if we still have the vehicle and someone wants a hearing, we would have to schedule that hearing within 3 days.
Okay, any questions from the council? Okay, we'll open the public hearing. Any questions from the public? Seeing none, we will close the public hearing. On to item 3.
Okay, on to the regular calendar. Item 1 is an ordinance to amend the Code of Ordinances of the City of Long Beach regarding automatic alarm systems. A hearing has been held on this item already. Item 2 is an ordinance to amend the Code of Ordinances of the City of Long Beach regarding motor vehicles and traffic. A hearing has been held on this item already. Item 3 is a resolution authorizing budget amendment to the Capital Projects Fund budget.
So this is the same thing that we had last meeting, and that will be happening throughout the length of the North Shore Critical Infrastructure Project. This is just basically a pass-through. Money's become available from the feds, and we're now giving it to the state through this fund.
Okay, any questions from the council? Any from the public? All right, on to item 4.
Item 4 is a resolution authorizing settlement of an action brought by Deborah O'Sullivan against the City of Long Beach.
Dennis, you're on again.
All right, so this is a proposed $100,000 settlement. It's a slip and fall on the boardwalk. Back in March of 2017, the allegation is that that Long Beach plowed only the bike lane, leaving snow and ice on the side. There were injuries suffered to the plaintiff, and I'm recommending that this matter be settled for $100,000.
Any questions from the council? Any from the public? Okay, on to item 6.
Item 5 has been taken off the calendar. Item 6 is a resolution authorizing the acting city manager to furnish and install vehicle upfitting equipment for the police department.
So this particular item, you'll recall that we approved, and we have received several marked and unmarked, well, two marked and one unmarked vehicle for the police department, which was just the base cost of the vehicle. This is actually the upfitting of the vehicle. It's on lights, sirens, control modules, the computer equipment to be installed, the radios to be installed, as well as the mounting brackets and painting of the doors of the vehicles to make them our color scheme, and the graphics. It's $35,000 approximately for the marked police cars and $11,000 for the unmarked car for this upfitting. We were able to piggyback off of the Suffolk County Community College contract. It actually turns out with the same person that we used, which is Commander Fleet, and the pricing, believe it or not, was basically identical. His state bid pricing and what we were paying were the same. So this money is already borrowed. It is in a capital project line and is already allocated for this purpose.
All right, any questions from the council? Any questions from the public? All right, seeing none. Item 7.
Item 7 is approval of minutes of prior meeting, November 21st, 2023. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Voting to approve, Councilmember Postoli.
Yes.
Councilmember Lester.
Yes.
Councilmember McGinnis.
Yes.
Vice President Treston.
Yes.
President Bendo.
Yes.
Okay, we're on to the voting portion. Item 1 is an ordinance to amend the Code of Ordinances of the City of Long Beach regarding automatic alarm systems. Who introduce and move the adoption of this item?
I will.
Second.
I will.
Voting, Councilmember Postoli.
Yes.
Councilmember Lester.
Yes.
Councilmember McGinnis.
Yes.
Vice President Treston.
Yes.
President Bendo.
Yes.
Item 2 is an ordinance to amend the Code of Ordinances of the City of Long Beach regarding motor vehicles and traffic. Who introduce and move the adoption of this item?
I
I will.
will. Sorry. It's either going to be John or I.
Second. So,
Who'd you get
first, second?
Fine.
Perfect, okay. Voting, Councilmember Postoli.
Yes.
Councilmember Lester.
Yes.
Councilmember McGinnis.
Yes.
Vice President Treston.
Yes.
President Bendo.
Yes.
Item 3 is a resolution authorizing budget amendment to the Capital Projects Fund budget. Who introduce and move the adoption of this item?
I will.
Second.
I will.
Voting, Councilmember Postoli.
Yes.
Councilmember Lester.
Yes.
Councilmember McGinnis.
Yes.
Vice President Treston.
Yes.
President Bendo.
Yes.
Item 4 is a resolution authorizing settlement of an action brought by Deborah O'Sullivan against the City of Long Beach. Who introduce and move the adoption of this item?
I will.
I
Second.
will.
Voting, Councilmember Postoli.
Yes.
Councilmember Lester.
Yes.
Councilmember McGinnis.
Upon advice from a corporation counsel, I vote yes.
Vice President Treston.
Yes.
President Bendo.
Yes.
And finally, item 6 is a resolution authorizing the acting city manager to furnish and install vehicle upfitting equipment for the police department. Who introduce and move the adoption of this item?
I will.
Second.
I will.
Voting, Councilmember Postoli.
Yes.
Councilmember Lester.
Yes.
Councilmember McGinnis.
Yes.
Vice President Treston.
Yes.
President Bendo.
Yes.
City manager's monthly personnel report has been filed by the city clerk. Who will make a motion to close the meeting?
I will.
Second.
I will.
Voting, Councilmember Postoli.
Yes.
Councilmember Lester.
Yes.
Councilmember McGinnis.
Yes.
Vice President Treston.
Yes.
President Bendo.
Yes. All right, we'll go into good and welfare now, just in case it's the first time. You get 3 minutes. And you gave me a mixed stack here, so which is?
No, that's the first.
That's, okay. So we got Steve Diamone, sorry if I'm, or is that Diamond? Steve?
He may have went.
Okay. Okay, we can come back to him. Mr. Kramer?
Hi, Tim Kramer, 361 East Broadway. Though I applaud the block that's getting renovated between Long Beach Road and Riverside, you know, we have to keep in mind that all our competitors already have this in their business districts from start to finish. You know, Patchogue, Babylon, even Island Park. If you go to Island Park and their main business district, all of that is already done already. So, you know, we have one block that's getting done, which is fantastic. It's great, 2 thumbs up. But, you know, I don't know how many, we've got 20, 25 blocks left between each 3 business districts. So we're talking, you know, some pretty extensive time, I would imagine. So what I would do until that time is complete, I would create what I would call, say, a street czar. Okay, and this street czar would be someone that does nothing but walk each 3 business districts all day, every day, cleaning up the little bit of trash, the cigarette butts, and the so on and so forth, because the 3 business districts, they're not clean, the garbage is not handled properly, and this guy would be in contact with the business owners of each pile of garbage and say, listen, you're putting it out too soon, you're putting it out too late, we want it tied, you're not handling this right. And so I would have somebody strictly involved with that and have somebody that's really diligent and to tighten these areas up. And I'll give Mr. Kirkland this, because he's voiced this many times. So I'll give him credit for this, even though many people have voiced this, but he's definitely the leading voice here with this. In the warmer months, you have to have bi-monthly power washing in all 3 business districts. Has to happen. So we can spend $1.5 million on one block and have it look like, you know, not so good in a couple of weeks if we're not going to keep up with it and not going to maintain it. So it has to be maintained, power washed, bi-monthly. Streets are cigarette, but just everything. Make it tight. Make it tight. Make it look. And I would think the business owners in these areas, they would want this. No, this really irks me, because this is something that has grinded me ever since I moved here, going on 37 years now. So that's what I would do until we get to a point where we, you know, get more blocks involved with this, with this improvement. So that would be something I would consider. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. And Christina Kramer. Okay.
Hello, Christina Kramer. I agree with Karen tonight. I think we'd like to see some events over on the East End. I think that would be fair, and I don't know exactly what I'd plan, but I'd love to see some of these paid events on the East Side. So I'm just up here asking if there's any updates on Equinor turbines. Do we know what's going on? I'm under the understanding that Maryland and Rhode Island, they are looking to halt the projects because of the potential obliteration of the water quality in those areas. So I'm wondering if we're keeping up on that, and if we have any updates for the people.
So no real updates. I assume your attorney's keeping you apprised of...
Well, I can't talk about things, so that's why
No,
I'm
I know, but other than
asking you.
that,
Okay.
the point was, other than that, there's been no updates.
No updates, no findings, no decisive decisions that it's not running through Long Beach, or if it's still going up and going, if there's another route, anything like that? Nothing to report to us?
Nothing.
Okay, thanks. And I had a question about the business district, but I was going to in the other room, but I have a feeling they're going to send me back out here anyway. I was just curious, when they have that 4 feet on the outside of the doors where they could put furniture or benches or seating, are the restaurants going to be paying for that space, or what are the limitations or requirements of that space along the sidewalks? Because some of the restaurants really, and I'm all about the business, some of them really push out and there's like no walking, and I'm just curious, is there going to be some requirements
There's
about
actually a
that?
city code that covers that. They have to pay for those tables. So
They pay for the tables and chairs, yes.
Yeah, so there's a city code that covers the fees for
So
being
there
able to
are
put
fees
tables on.
and there's
Yeah.
tax dollars included, and what if they just put a bench out there, like, I mean, I'm just curious.
They have to pay for it.
They pay for putting, what
Mm-hmm.
if it's one of the benches, the black benches that those people put out there?
Who are those people? What do you-
Say it again?
The grant.
The grant? No, that's ours.
Okay, so if the black
If it's,
benches
if
are
it's
there.
our provided, then that's already paid for from taxpayer dollars. But if the business wants to use it for seating, to serve food, what are they going to do? They have to pay for it.
Okay, thank you. Have a
You're
good night.
welcome.
Have a good night. Okay, try again for Steve Diamond.
Good evening. Steve Diamond. About 2 months ago, I submitted a petition to the City Council Commissioner and about parking on the north side between Edwards and Riverside. Right now, there's approximately 26 spots that are being taken all day by the trained people, unlimited parking all day from early in the morning till late in the end of the day. It was suggested, I took a survey of the store owners who all agreed and signed and said if we could have that parking like normal for an hour or 2 hour, whatever parking, you'd have 125 people being able to use that parking instead of 26 people using it for all day. I really was just curious to know, where that's at, because everyone agreed that it made a lot of sense. I didn't hear any opposition when I spoke to corporate counsel or the commissioner or anyone or the city council. They all suggested it would make a lot of sense because the train people have their entire parking lot that they have for the train.
Mr. Diamond, I was there as well, and I believe that we had to have a code change. And they were looking to talk to the traffic, Lieutenant Corbett, to find out if there would be, what change needed to happen. Unfortunately, in government, things take months.
So when I spoke to Lieutenant Corbett, he was totally in favor of having the change and making that, it made sense. So it made it sound like the city council just has to say, okay, let's change it. I see signs change all the time on time. They just changed it on the other side of the street from 30 minutes to 15 minutes to an hour in different areas of the street.
Again, it will have to go back to corporate
I don't have a
counsel.
problem with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Okay.
I will tell you that it is something that will probably take place within the next, 30 days, I would imagine. But
That'd be great to hear. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's not something that we ignored.
Right. Thank
Okay,
you. Have a
sure.
great holiday, everybody. Thanks.
Thank you,
Have a
sir.
great holiday. Karen Riskin.
Hi, good evening. I'm here today because I've noticed last week that there are a lot of surveyors all over the canals area. I was past, it was East Harrison and Lincoln, and I noticed some surveyors and also along the East Pine Street, but then I learned that was a different area that they were surveying. When I met up with the guys from Lincoln and East Harrison, I started talking to them, and I became aware of the fact that they were part of the same group prior to the PSC meeting that marked the grass area up Lincoln. The company's name is PSNS. They're out of Pennsylvania. And talking to them, I found out that they were surveying Jones Beach Inlet, Brooklyn, all the areas that Equinor is involved with and have in mind. Secondly, I'd like to know, does anybody know about that? And who advised them and who gave them the permit of doing it? And you can't say PSE&G because that's ridiculous. You can't put it all on them. It has to be somebody from Long Beach. The other part of it is, last evening I received a post from somebody, and I learned that as of Laurelton, they are going east, and possibly I didn't read further enough, and it could be even further west. But what I'm leading up to is, when this whole thing started, it was only going from Riverside to Lincoln all the way north and around. But tell me something. Why are they over by Laurelton? I mean, seriously, does anybody know the answers to these questions? They're taking up the whole town going east. It's going to go into Lido. It's going to go into the dunes. And eventually, I suppose, we'll go into Point Lookout as well. Bottom line is, they're taking up the whole community with this stupid cable that is deadly. Why on earth are they still doing this? Now I'd like some answers.
We're not aware of, Joe, are you aware of any permitting or anything like that? No. The only thing that's going on, I believe it's going up Lincoln, is PSE&G is going to be increasing the power line here to avoid brownouts over the summer. But that has nothing to do with, we've been notified that we don't have enough power for next year by the time the summer comes, so they're going to be doing a project to actually increase just a regular power line. But there's nothing to, let me finish, there's nothing to do with any of the wind farms or anything like that. There's no permits been issued by this city. We're unaware of anything that way at all.
That can't be. Honestly.
Well, I'm telling you that's the truth. PSE&G is actually going to be putting in a power line.
Then
But
why
other
would they
than that,
why would they go to Jones Inlet? Why would they go to Jones Beach
we
Inlet?
are completely unaware of what you're talking about
Well,
with Jones
maybe you
Inlet.
should investigate it, because Equinor is a sneaky company, and they think that they can wiggle the way through things. Meanwhile, we're on top of everything. We know, we see, and we will react.
We're, like I said, Joe, you're not aware of anything, right? And we've given no permits to anybody to do any work whatsoever in this city or do anything.
Then maybe you should stop them and find out who's doing it.
Other than
and why.
PSE&G. That's the only one that is working with us on any sort of project right now. That's our power company.
And one last question. Wind changed its name to Ocean. So you think that Equinor has nothing to do with that? It's going to be the same combination of cables. That's not going to change.
Thank you.
That means.
It means they're
Who changed their name?
Wind.
Wind who?
The people that were doing the cables. Equinor?
Equinor didn't change their name.
Equinor changed
No,
their name?
they changed Wind to Ocean.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm not sure what you're talking
Maybe
about.
you should investigate it, but it's true. It's been in the papers and it's publicly known.
Okay, it's their project. They can call it whatever they want.
They shouldn't have the project at all. Hochul vetoed it. Now all of a sudden it's back in full speed, hurting Long Beach. I mean, this is ridiculous.
That's fine, but you're talking to the wrong people. You need to be talking to your state representatives. Those are the people
Oh,
that
trust
now have
me,
the
we all
control.
are. But that's not the point. You're city council. You should all know about this. You think it should just go there? You're a part of this community.
Correct, and we're protecting this community.
Well, we're not feeling that way right now. We're feeling like everything is just going sliding by you. You don't know anything I'm talking about yet. It's so obvious.
To you, I guess.
No, to the whole community, because we are all in on this. We're fighting this because we care.
Anyway, so your time's up. If you want, I'll talk to you afterwards.
Well, why not here? What's
Because
the
your time
difference?
is up.
Well, you know something? The lack of answers shows us the lack of, I guess you're doing the job right. I'm sorry.
Oh, well, in a few
took-
weeks, you'll have 3 new people to complain to. So,
That's not the point. The point is that it's not that we,
Karen, I'll talk to you after the meeting if you want. We always have good conversations, you know that.
I do.
So,
but that's not the point.
I'll talk to you after the meeting. Okay. James Hodge.
James Hodge, 95 East Fulton Street, here in our great city of Long Beach, from Maple to Nevada, from the bay to the ocean. I just wanted to
Happy birthday, James.
thank you.
Oh, it's your birthday? Happy
It
birthday.
was on November 30th. Me and my dad, who is in heaven, I was blessed to be the 9th child born on my hero's birthday. Thank you. Just wanted to say my condolences to Councilwoman Tina Postley in the passing of your hero father who served his country, and thank him for his history and his legacy as he smiles down on his daughter, and also as he rests with your mother, you know. And so I don't know how you're feeling, but I know that I lost my mom and dad. And sometimes we may think because the same thing happened, we know what each other is going through. I don't know what you're going through, but I honor you for being able to fight through that and still be here for our city. So thank you, and I'm still praying for you and your family and your children as they have lost a grandparent, another grandparent. So thank you. Just wanted to say again, this city council has time to be able to right a wrong, which could be, thank you for all of the great things you've done, but again, the Martin Luther King Center being an eviction court, I think is wrong. Small non-for-profit doing great things in this city, and this current administration put them in eviction court. Also, just wanted to say to anyone that's looking to join an amazing organization, join the Long Beach Auxiliary Police Department. See our captain here. Also want to say congratulations to the junior firefighter department, who swore in 7 members this past weekend. Congratulations to the volunteer firefighters and the young individuals that's signing up from, I believe, age 14 to 17, and then at 18 they'll be able to join the regular volunteer fire department. And also the meeting that is being held outside, I wanted to go to that. But I wanted to not miss the council, and I believe since the city council was able to ask questions, it should have been an opportunity, along with all of the other meetings. I know, thank you for those, but this meeting should have been an opportunity. If you asked questions, it should have been allotted some time for residents so they didn't have to split this meeting and that meeting. If you asked questions, we should have been allotted a couple of minutes to ask questions. So again, to this council, thank you for what you do, Karen. Thank you for the questions you ask. Again, I think that it should always be asked, different questions. Those are organizations and things that's been going on for years. And I think whether the East End or the middle section of town want to do things, they should bring it up, and the city should be able to see how we can treat everybody fairly and bring everybody at the table with tax dollars that all of us are paying taxes with. So thank you all for the questions. And also the parking by Rivers, J.G. Evans Boulevard. I think if that parking opens up, of course, it will be good for the residents that live there because they're looking for parking also. Thank you.
Okay,
have an
thanks,
amazing
James.
night.
All right, that's it, everyone. Have a good night. Happy Hanukkah to those people that celebrate it, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.